is going? Okay, so hello, today I'm going to teach you guys how to do CPR, but specifically on an infant. So maybe this is like your child if you have a kid, or maybe it's a kid that you're babysitting and you're just praying that it doesn't defecate itself. But here's your kid, and for some reason something happened. Now with infants, usually they don't just drop dead of a heart attack and require CPR. They usually suffer from secondary cardiac arrest, and this is caused by choking, getting electrocuted, drowning, something like that. So you do have to figure out why the kid isn't, why they don't have a pulse. So usually it's because of choking. So for this, you're gonna start with your Heimlich. So, oh yeah, materials, okay. So you're gonna end up needing for Heimlich and CPR, gloves. You should have gloves on. If you don't have gloves, it's perfectly fine as long as you know the person and it's good. Like in an ideal situation, don't touch any blood because then you can get a disease. In an ideal situation, we're gonna need gloves. You also need a one-way mask, preferably a pediatric one for a baby. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to assess the scene. So if you see that this baby is choking, make sure, or like any other thing that's going on, make sure the scene is safe. So some unsafe scenes would be like a fire if they're drowning inside of dangerous water, or like hazardous animals, like some situation where you don't feel comfortable going in, because the only thing worse than needing one ambulance is needing two. And you won't have anyone else to call for help in that case, so do not go if the scene is not safe. Again, you need your gloves, and you also need your CPR mask. So, the first thing you have to do the very first step to treating something is prevention. So obviously if you have a little kid and they're in an unsafe area that you know will potentially cause problems, supervise them. Make sure they're not eating anything they're not supposed to. Make sure they're not sticking their hands anywhere that they're not supposed to, because a lot can go wrong if it's not baby-proofed. And also another part of prevention would be to perform the Heimlich before it gets to the point where you need to perform CPR. So to do the Heimlich on a baby, what you're going to do is you're going to hold the baby's head inside of your hand like this, rest them up their arm. Normally babies are larger than this tall, so don't block their mouth or anything so they can still breathe. You're going to perform 5 back blows like this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then you're going to turn them over on your other hand, and you're going to do 5 compressions like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you're going to keep doing that over and over again. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Until they either expel an object or until they become unresponsive. So next what you're going to do is you are going to check for responsiveness. If, say, you approach a scene and there is no choking baby, just a baby that's still. So to check responsiveness for a baby, you try to tickle them on their foot and you say, hey, hey, hey. And if they do not respond, then there is no responsiveness. So next thing you're going to do is you're going to check for breathing and pulse. So to check a pulse on an infant, you're going to go to the area between the elbow and the armpit. So about right here with your 2 fingers. Don't use your thumb to check the pulse or it won't work. So you're going to go like this. If you cannot find a pulse, or if you're unsure that there's a pulse, then you can perform CPR, and also with breathing too, if there's no breathing. So, and also breathing, gasps for air, or just random weird rattling noises, that does not count as breathing. That is troubled breathing, and it does not count as what you'd actually expect. So you're going to start CPR now. So what you're going to do is, first and foremost, you're going to either gather up your cell phone, or if there's anybody else in the area, alert them and say, hey, call EMS, get an AED if there's one around. Usually in public places there are AEDs, such as I know in this school. There's one up by the front office, so usually when you go places, if you know how to perform CPR, look for an AED wherever you are, just in case something were to go wrong. So we're going to start performing CPR. So to do CPR on a baby, with one person, you do a 30-to-2 ratio. So you can either do it with your 2 fingers straight down, or you can do it with your knuckle like this. So I'm going to do it with my knuckle. You do 30 compressions. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. And then you're going to get out your CPR mask. You try this as fast as you can. So with this, on a normal person, it would go this way with the narrow end by your nose. Okay. you have to turn it around. Obviously, this is a tiny baby doll, so it doesn't fit entirely. So you're going to do a head tilt chin lift, where you tilt up the forehead and you lift the chin. And then you're going to give the breaths. So you go breath, breath, and then you will resume CPR. Now, when an AED arrives, if an AED arrives, then you will immediately stop CPR wherever you are, and you will attach the pads. Now, for an infant and anyone under 8, you need a pediatric pad, but if you don't have one, that's totally fine. Usually on AEDs, there's a switch. So you flip the switch and it delivers a pediatric shock. Now, with AEDs, don't be afraid of them if there's a situation where you have to rescue anybody, because they give the directions. They're meant for, like, they're foolproof. Like, they're really, like, dumb simple. You attach the pads, it tells you what to do, it tells you exactly where you should be. So you attach the pads, so I don't have an AED here because they're expensive, the trainers are expensive, but you attach the pad to their chest. It has to be bare too, and not wet, so it has to be a dry, bare chest. And then what you're going to do is you are going to let it analyze the heart rhythm. Do not do CPR, or else you'll mess it all up. So it'll analyze and it'll tell you if a shock is advised or if a shock isn't advised, and you should just resume CPR. So let's say a shock is not advised. So we're going to resume CPR with the pad still on. Do not detach the pad from the chest, because that just makes things a lot more complicated, and usually AEDs only have one pad in there, and if you detach it, then it's useless now. So we're going to resume. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. And then you do your breath. Okay, so at this point, let's say that emergency medical services has arrived. Now you tell them what we just did. So what did we do? We have the AED hooked up. So we just did 2 rounds of CPR where we did 30 breaths and 30 compressions and 2 breaths. So you tell them the rounds that you did, you tell them you attached an AED, but it does not advise a shock, you do not deliver any shocks, and then they take over from there, because they obviously have more training and are better at what you're doing than you are. So yeah, and then another case, so for effective CPR, you need to do it like, you have to have a team approach and also do things fast. So obviously, if you saw how much time it took me to do the compressions, and then grab the mask, ensure the valve is in place, and put it on their head. So what you do is you get somebody else who also is aware of how to do CPR. For CPR in an infant, your tactics are revised. So what you do is you wrap your hands around it and put your thumbs in their chest like this, and do the compressions like this instead. And then the other person is on the other side, and then they're giving the breaths as soon as you finish your compressions. And that is the most effective way to give CPR. So finally, this is really useful because most people don't know how to give CPR to an infant or even a child. They know the basics of regular CPR. So if an adult were to drop dead of a heart attack or something like that, they could go and they could assist, because it's really easy. Everybody knows. Stick a hand out, put your hand inside, and then start compressions. Like, most people can do that. But most people do not know how to do it on an infant. But that is equally as important, because it's still like a matter of time until they suffer irreversible damage. So they really need to know. So yeah, that's it. I don't know how long that was. I forgot to set a timer.